Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And welcome in to a later edition of Judd's Hockey Show, but it's well worth it. Zolgad, AJ Frederickson with you as usual during the week for our shows. Declan, of course, joins us once a week along with Jesse Pierce for the Wednesday extravaganza. But this show, there's a lot to talk about. There's obviously some rough bumps to talk about over the weekend. But that being said, we're going to start with a huge positive, and we're going to focus on this because it's incredibly cool. I was there for the Wild's 5-0 win over the Islanders tonight. The press box, AJ was there in the stands with family, and both of us got to witness a really cool slice of NHL history. After a long wait, brought upon really not by his bad play as much as it was by his team's bad play, Marc-Andre Fleury, AJ tonight, win 552, breaks a tie for second place all-time among goalies with his childhood idol, the man who he first saw talking to posts. And the reason Flower talks to the post is because of Patrick Roy, who did the very same thing when he played. He's at 551 victories. Fleury, who earlier this season, of course, played in his incredible 1,000th game, is now at 552, second place all-time. Nobody is going to pass Martin Brodeur, 691 wins. But nonetheless, just a really cool scene on the ice after the game, embraced individually by teammates, took a twirl to center ice to acknowledge the fans. They took a team picture. In the locker room afterwards, two of Flower's kids were brought in. I think he said his third kid had tonsillitis, so couldn't be there. But two of the kids were brought in, and he was holding them at his locker stall, took pictures with the equipment staff, Aaron Sickman of the PR staff. And I mean, just such a cool guy to cover. Has been just first class throughout his entire career. If I'm not mistaken, now in his 20th season, in a season of a lot of downs for this team. This is a great story, and congratulations. I don't care if you're in our business, if you're a fan, if you work for the Wild, or you just love all of hockey, period. This is the type of moment that makes it special.
Yeah, this was I was glad I was able to be there more as a fan tonight rather than like watching at home, doing the notes, just kind of keeping track of tabs and stuff like that. Being able to just kind of go grab a beer, sit amongst everybody, and just kind of be for the camaraderie to like experience this historic moment in hockey. A goalie, I would bet, like we just talked about the other week, there's really no other goalie unless they start getting insanely athletic, that's going to be able to get to 1,000 games. It's just not a normal feat for a goaltender. There's really not another goalie that's going to be able to get to 552 or beyond. Like nobody's touching Brodeur, and at this point, nobody I think is going to touch Fleury. His name is going to be in the record book at number 2. I mean, for as long as I can see. Very cool. He had a nice little liner in the post-game interview on Bally, which was, and it was broadcast in the arena, which is why I was able to hear this, but it's about time. He goes, it's about time we were able to pick it up. And, rightfully so. They had the other night up 3-1, up 2 goals, shoot that one away. And it's just it's been a season where this is kind of needed. This is needed for the team, and I still don't think that this is going to, as some people are saying in our live chat here, but it's not going to be the right thing to like turn around the season. This is not going to, catapult them back into a playoff race, but this is great for everybody in the room to be a part of. This is fun for the, just the Minnesota hockey fan to be able to experience this and be able to root for him. You're going to root for him regardless because it's Marc-Andre Fleury. I feel like he's one of those guys, unless you're, a Flyers diehard fan or something like that, you're mad that you can't root against him. The guy's just too likable. And I want to say it was Matt Zuccarello had one of the comments post game that was, he's a better person than he is a goalie, which I think says a lot. Like, this is a guy who off the ice, he does all the right things. In the locker room, he does all the right things. I've never really heard anybody say a bad word about him. Like, everything just comes out. He's positive. He's a born leader. He's got that aura that everybody just wants to be around him. So fun night all around. Great night for Minnesota hockey. Great night for Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, 21 saves, and make no mistake, the Islanders are in a tailspin. I think there might be a coaching change there. I don't know if you saw this on Saturday night in Nashville, but after they gave up an empty net goal with like 5 seconds left, everyone on the bench left. And I think it was Bo Horvat and the guys on the ice, and all the players just left. They walked off the bench. Never seen that before. I think it's probably a sign that a coaching change very well might be coming up for that team. I'm not sure what you thought tonight, but I don't recall in the times that I've seen the Islanders play at the X, Matthew Barzal being a rumor as far as playing. I mean, I barely saw him tonight. I think I saw him most when he was cross-checking Rossi.
Yes.
So 21 shots, 21 saves, only 3 second period shots for the Islanders. But what I will say is this: Fleury made some huge saves. I mean, he made some very big stops. I loved early in the game when the net got the Islander player was aggressive to the net, and Fleury just got up and gave it to him right back. There was the play, I think, when he came in for Gustafsson on Saturday in the 6-0 loss, which was abysmal to the Coyotes, where Fleury just decided to skate out to the corner. Screw it, I'm going to clear the puck myself. I love this guy. I mean, he harkens back to the goaltenders of my childhood, which is they were far less technically sound. They were far more eccentric. Like they were weird. I mean, Flowers seems like a great guy, but he is sort of a weird goaltender. He said too that on the first puck that hit the crossbar, he turns around, and I've read this before. He turns around and thanks it not only in English but also in French. Yes. So it's a bilingual goalpost. And because I asked him, I said, "Did you get that from Wah?" Because Wah has talked about before that even posts have good and bad nights, and he said, "Yeah, that's where I got it from." Growing up. So that was a very cool thing. Now, the good news, as Tyler says here, which was at least Brodin coming back stabilized the defense. It also allowed you to scratch, thank goodness, John Hines, John Merrill, and Alex Goligoski. They both are probably really nice guys. They should not be playing. They did not play tonight. I thought the blue line looked better. As far as the injury situation goes, Brodin said in the locker room he didn't break his thumb. He said he did ligament damage, and that's why he was in a cast for that. So he's recovered from that now, and he looked pretty good tonight. I thought he looked fine. We now know Kaprizov back for 2 games, and he had an assist tonight. Kirill broke a couple, at least one, if not a couple of ribs. So when he was cross-checked, so he came back pretty quick. Bill Guerin did a pregame state of the team halfway through, and he said there will be information on Spurgeon coming up soon. I got a feeling this might not be good, Age. Spurgeon, I think he hurt a shoulder. I think it was a shoulder when he was shoved on the boards in the preseason game in Chicago. He was out for an extended period. He came back. He's gone out again a few times. I'm fearful that it's a shoulder problem that's probably going, and this is just a total guess, but since they won't tell us, it's fair game, in my opinion. My total guess is that they're probably going to need or have performed surgery this time around, because you don't want to leave, like, he's not at an age where you screw around with this. You get it fixed. And if he's out for the season, he's out. So this team very well might have what it's going to get back. Guerin in his pregame state of the team press conference, let me run a couple of quotes past you and get your thoughts. Not surprisingly, he didn't say a whole lot. It's not like he was going to be an open book. He hadn't talked publicly, at least across the board, in a press conference for a while, though. Asked if things continue to go sideways as the deadline approaches, if he would still try to improve for this season, which he said he still thinks that this team can win. I don't know about that. Or look to the future. Guerin said, quote, "That's a possibility." In other words, looking to the future, if things continue to go sideways. I don't think I can sit here right now and say if it goes sideways, we are going to do X, Y, and Z, but we could. That's as close as I thought that he would come to saying that there might be an alternative. It felt like what he was trying to say, he wanted the players to see, which is, I still believe in you. I still think we can win. Please win some damn games. But the reality is, for as fun as tonight was, this season could be lost. I also asked him about because he basically said, I can't go in the locker room and tell players, it'll be a couple of years. Don't worry about it. You do what you do and we'll make moves. But I followed up with, what about ownership, Craig Leopold. Like you can't tell him what you're telling the players, because if you're blowing sunshine up his what, he's not exactly going to like that if it proves that you're just wrong. So I said, would there come a point in time where you tell Craig the reality of things? Might not share that with the players. Bill Guerin said, quote, "We always have to think of the overall health of the organization and the team to do what's right. There are short-term plans and there are long-term plans. We have to make sure that we are staying on course with both of them. Moving ahead, we are going to have to sign some younger players to extensions and things like that. We are going to have to sign some younger players to entry-level contracts and make sure they develop properly so they can get into our lineup as quickly as possible. All of those things are not in the not-too-distant future." I take this to mean, very simply, they don't want the players to quit, but there's a reality that this season might be lost.
Yeah, my initial reaction is that, to me, says that, I think we've known this from his tenure here. Mm-hmm. He wants to win just as badly as the guys in the locker room. You don't take this job in the hopes of having fun with a rebuild. Like sure, that's fun in a sense to think about just how good you could be at some point, but in reality, that's that waiting period. Bill Guerin wants to win. I think he knows that this is maybe not the team unless some sort of miracle happens tonight. And I still don't even think a miracle can get them back into a playoff picture here at some point in the season. But that tells me they've at least been working and thinking about possibilities, avenues to explore in the coming month and a half or so, which is depressing as some fans who think hey, it's still the Minnesota Wild, they're going to be scrappy and they're going to fight, and it's good to know that they're thinking about worst case scenario. That's what you have to have. You have to always be playing that other side of the coin as well. Even though he is going to give that, hey, guys, you can still do it. I still think we can, we've built this and we've got the right pieces here and all that stuff. From some of the deals he's made, we know he's a good talker. We know he's a good motivator. We know he's able to kind of talk and get the way that he wants. But I think he knows deep down, this is just not going to be the team that's going to be able to do anything. And then that second half they're saying about, hey, looking to the signing guys, getting guys in our lineup almost as early as possible. I think that says, maybe we're going to make some moves, open up some spots so that some of these younger guys can slide in, hence next year. And then once the big cap, is alleviated with the dead cap from the buyouts of Parisi and Suter, now we're going to start really cooking again, and who knows what we have there. So it comes down to probably moving a couple guys, and we'll see. We still got a little bit of time here before things start really picking up with the trade deadline season approaching. But he's not going to say too much. He's not going to give away all his secrets. But that, I think, says a little bit more than what I expected.
I think there's two things at work here too. I think he knows that he is going to be held accountable, and that he might have made a mistake by signing all of those guys to contracts. Now his point is, they're good players. I have to sign somebody. I re-signed Hartman and I re-signed Foligno and Zuccarello and blah, blah, blah. So that's his ass on the line. So he can't very well say, hey, yeah, it was a mistake, wasn't it? So I get that part of it. But I think the other reality that we need to keep in mind is, yes, the weekend was a disaster. I know tonight was fun, but I'm sorry, I'm not sure what was worse, gagging the lead away to the Flyers when you had a 2-goal lead and that game, in hand in the third period, and then you just collapse, or coming out on Saturday totally uninspired and you give up 6 goals. I mean, the Coyotes are improved, but they come onto your ice and spank you like that. I mean, both those losses, the Coyotes loss is more embarrassing, but the Friday loss is just as frustrating from a team standpoint. But the reality for Guerin and this team is, AJ, if you do this right, there's some very nice pieces of the puzzle coming up. So this is not a barren, it'd be one thing with Chuck Fletcher. The farm system was emptied out, right? Farm system was a mess. And you're a big prospect guy and a big draft guy. I mean, this team's done a pretty good job now. And so when you do come out of the cap hell and you quit and you're not trying to play and force in the Goligoskis and Merrills, right? When you do that, I think you're going to have a pretty nice club. So I don't think all hope is lost. I would like to see them be as realistic as possible about the current predicament. And I'm fine with that. Miss the playoffs. I mean, it looks like you're going to miss the playoffs, get as high in the lottery as you can. But all of that being said, I don't think like this is some hopeless case of you're screwed. I think that this is just, it's going to have to be calculated. And you're exactly right. Bill Guerin's not going to go to a podium tonight and be like, hey, I'm going to blow this thing up. It sucks. But I mean, I think we're a little bit, I think long-term we're too down on things, and short-term, I think it's just about acceptance here to a certain point. Although anyone who was pissed off about what they saw on Friday and Saturday, I do completely get it, because in their own different ways, those were just, they were both embarrassing defeats in which you're better than that. I know guys have been sick. Everyone has the flu this time of year, but you are better than that. So I personally call this like an eye test thing. It's an eye test thing. You go out there, you compete, you play hard, you're going to lose some games. I totally understand that. But Saturday was a disgusting lack of effort, and Friday was incompetence in the third period.
Yeah, Friday was I figured there's no way that they're perfect. Coyotes the next day, we're gonna bounce back, have a nice little uplifting end to the weekend, or at least end of a Saturday night. That was just 24 hours of just total pain. Just terrible. That third period on Friday night was just horrendous. And then the entire 60, I mean, you may as well have just stayed at home, gentlemen. Let them rack up as many. If you would have told me in 2021 that Matt Dumba, Jason Zucker, and Nick Bugstad were going to win a game at the Excellent
Center, hat trick.
At a hat trick. Nick Bugstad does not score hat tricks. The NHL
did at Blaine. It's for the Gophers. It doesn't score NHL hat tricks.
Oh God, that was just something else. But you're right. And when it comes to the eye test, you can't just look at tonight. Tonight, yes, they were dominant. They had 21 shots in the second period, a season high. They outshot the Islanders. What was it, 40? I want to say to
21. 21. No, to 21. They had as many. They were officially credited when it was all said and done with 20 second period shots. The Islanders had 21 for the entire game. The Wild outshot them 20-3. Now, again, the Islanders are going through some turmoil. But I mean, that's at least a sign of the fact that, that Philadelphia game, how do you blow that lead? How do you blow that damn lead? You're up by 2 goals. You had that game.
That was bad.
That's the frustrating thing. That's the frustrating thing, because those breakdowns are not excusable.
Yeah. And then to your point about the young guys coming up, there's been a reason why the Wild have been recognized as having such a good farm system the past couple of years. Granted, a lot of that weight has now been kind of removed with Jesper Wallstedt officially making his NHL debut. Marco Rossi has since graduated. Matt Boldy has since graduated, but they've kept adding.
Correct. So the Russians, for instance, I mean, there's guys that aren't in Iowa necessarily.
Yes.
That are going to contribute here.
And that's the thing, like Marek Kuznetsov, I know he got hurt, and then the Russian game is so weird because some of these guys are just great prospects and they're good, but then because the politics of I just don't like you, they just get buried on the bench or in the press box, and then they have to get traded to some other team, and then, hey, they start and they have a goal and 2 assists in their first game. So it's weird. But Kuznetsov is there. Dania Yurov is there. Liam Ogren, we just saw him captain Sweden at the World Juniors. He looks pretty solid. Carson Lambos is maybe not projecting as well as initially thought, but he still looks like a very good skilled prospect. Ryan O'Rourke, I personally still like. I've been high on Ryan O'Rourke since they've drafted. I think because he's a little bit of he's not as flashy of a defenseman. He's just like a solid brick wall type of guy that you want in your lineup. Like, he's not going to wow you, but the point is they have guys in their system still. They just have to this is going to sound bad, but every spring you got to clear out the dead roots in the yard. You got to rototill the garden. And
it's attrition.
And that's what they're going to have to do. And so you're going to get these younger guys to come up. You're going to move the old guys out. And eventually, things are going to start coming together. This is not the season. And I think to your point about the eye test, we've seen that. You can't go Friday, Saturday, today and think, yeah, this team is just fine. Everything's good because they beat up on the New York Islanders and Marc-Andre Fleury is now the second winningest goalie in NHL history. No, go back to Friday and Saturday. Harness that feeling. You were there watching, everybody watching right now. Think about how painful it was to watch that third period and all of Saturday night. It felt like torture. It felt like it was something against the Geneva Convention on Saturday night to force myself to sit there and watch the Arizona Coyotes put up 6.
Own you. Embarrass you. Chase Gustafsson. Hey, Gustafsson's back. Kaprizov's back. Jake is right, though. Kaprizov tonight, to me, looked as fresh as I've seen him look. Did you see the first period move where he went through the defenseman? Now, he lost the edge and fell. But he went through the defenseman, put the puck between his legs. That was vintage Kirill. But again, I don't question him. I think if he's healthy, he's a great player. I don't question him. But I guess I'm urging fans to keep in mind that this is not the Chuck Fletcher teams, because those teams didn't have anything coming up behind. It was either Parise, Suter, Koivu, that whole group, or you were done. This is not that. This might take some time, but I'm willing to give it some time if it means a playoff run. Now, that's a big if. There was a quote earlier from, I want to say, Brian Hurley about the no trade clauses, which I'd like to get to. It's up higher. It basically asks the question. Yeah. So this question, actually, it's sponsored. It's sponsored by our friends at Livia Weight Control Centers, who helped me drop 40 pounds a couple of years ago. Here's the best part. They're going to help you keep the weight off as well. Jesse Pierce, Bar Down Beauties, Judd's Hockey Show on Wednesday. She's in the program as well. And guess what? This program works. And right now, have I got an offer for you? First 3 months are free. That's right. The first 3 months are free. You're going to fit into all those clothes. You're going to feel good. You're going to look good. And you're just going to be getting started. Also, they're now offering breakthrough weight loss medication options. 855-GO-LIVEA. Livia.com, LIVEA.com. And even if you're not from the state, it doesn't matter, because you could do the whole thing if you're a Judd's Hockey Show fan in Florida, virtually, Las Vegas, virtually, New York, virtually, Livia, LIVEA.com. All right, Brian Hurley says, who are you going to trade with all the no moves, kind of dumb Billy? Now, I will fully admit that I harp on the no moves and no trades because I hate them. I hate them. I think they're giving out like candy. I think you give, and this has changed. I'm wrong here. Like this is, I'm old man yelling at clouds, but the no trades were, Gretzky, right? Kaprizov, the special players. That they now go to Marcus Foligno. Hey, I'll stick around. Give me no trade. Okay. But I urge you, and we should do this. We should break this down, Age, on an upcoming episode. But I urge you, if you're a fan, to go to CapFriendly.
Right now, actually.
Okay, does a great job. But if you go there, what you will see is I think I probably am guilty of talking about these like they're absolute, like total protection. They're not. Some of these no trades, I think Zuccarello has like 10 teams that he can currently block trades to.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm guilty of, I hate this so much that I just rage about it. And then I think our viewers are like, oh, you can't trade him to any other team. That's not true. And in fact, Age, you can elaborate, but there's definitely some wiggle room to trade guys. And keep in mind, these things can be waived as well. Yeah.
So right now, to just kind of go over it, the guys with full-on no trade clauses, no move clauses, I should say. Right now, Marcus Foligno, no move clause. Marcus Johansson, no trade clause. Ryan Hartman, no move clause. You have a 10-team no trade clause for Matt Zuccarello. You have a modified no trade clause for Freddie Gaudreau. His is a 15-team no trade clause, and then Patty Maroon has a 16-team no trade list. That's the forwards. Jonas Brodin has a full no move. Alex Goligoski has a 35-plus contract that has a no move clause attached to it. Zach Bogosian has a modified no trade. So he has 21 teams that he can select from. That leaves the other 9 or 11 or so that he can move. And then Marc-Andre Fleury also has a no move clause. But I think we've previously discussed, if you have a closed door conversation with him, similar to what we've seen the Wild do quite a bit here with their behind the door, closed door meetings, you can sit him down and say, hey, you tell us where you want to go, and we can go ahead and let you know. So
if you want to leave,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It all comes down to what, he would have to give the official, we're going to figure something out. And he would essentially be his own GM in a sense there.
Yes. And you did not hear one intriguing name on that list who does not have protection is Philip Gustafsson.
Yes.
And again, I would be very open to trading him. He's got a great contract to trade. Teams need goaltending. And here's the thing. Goaltenders are on the open market in the summer. So like if you have, Wallstedt should be the starter next season. So if you need a backup or a second goaltender, there are veterans available. They're like running backs. They're just out there. They don't break the bank. It's not going to kill you. But again, by the time this team turns a corner, Wallstedt's going to be the guy. So if I could get a conditional first round pick, if I could make the Fleury trade for Gustafsson, okay, a second or third round pick, but the compensation, if your team makes the conference finals, goes to a first round pick, I make that trade in a heartbeat. Absolute heartbeat. MN Hockey Fan says sell Dewar, Duhaime, Bogo, and Maroon. Bogosian, I think actually could get you like a fifth round pick probably. Maroon, that's the problem is Maroon's not going to get you much. Gustafsson intrigues me to trade him because I think that you could, with the amount of teams that have goaltenders hurt and might need help there, it's all about the timing. And if I am correct on this, Friday, March 8th is the trade deadline. So it's all about that timing. But like if we're talking about, well, trade Merrill or he's going to get you nothing. Mm-hmm. It's not going to get you anything. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what actually would get you pieces, draft pieces for Judd Brackett to make moves, to make picks, to build on what is already a deep system. Because AJ, best case in a couple of years, you're in a good enough position where your team starts to pop and you might need a veteran. And now you can go trade a young player that you got in as a draft pick in a trade. You can go make that swap at the deadline and help yourself. So, but I want to urge us all to slow down. The no trades and no moves, I don't like it all, but they're not as complete as we sometimes think.
Now, Judd, I know there was a slight pandemonium. There was like a 4-hour stint of just pure panic on Minnesota Wild Twitter the other day when I'm going to say a rumor, and not a very applicable one, not a very concrete rumor. So I'll let you address it here. That there have been meetings between Bill Guerin and the Vancouver Canucks, possibly for a deal for Joel Eriksson Ek, who does not have any sort of trade protection. Yeah. Can you say here and now on January 15th at about 9:48 p.m., is there any truth to this rumor at all?
Who started that on Twitter?
Nobody that uses their real name as their username. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, at the very worst, like worst case it being true, I mean, would a team call? Absolutely. Bill Guerin probably gets a call a week on, hey, what's up with Eriksson Ek? You're going to try. I mean, he's great. He's a pest. He scored 2 goals tonight. I think he's up to 17 now, if I'm correct on that. But yeah, they're not going to trade. I mean, I should rephrase. If you were offered the world, if you were offered a stupid deal, you would trade him. Like there's nobody you wouldn't trade if you were offered a stupid, okay, we'll give you a couple of first round picks and this guy, okay. Are the Wild actively shopping Eriksson Ek? I would be absolutely shocked. Yeah. I think they see him as a very, very key component. He is a very reliable, not sexy, not flashy, but effective player. But do I think that there's calls constantly? Absolutely. It's pro sports. Like you wouldn't, if you're the Canucks and you're not, especially because they're good, they're really good right now, and you're not attempting to make calls, shame on you, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, do I expect, I think there's about the same chance, and I could be proven wrong. This could be old takes exposed, but I think there's about the same chance of Eriksson Ek being moved to the Canucks by March 8th as there is Kirill Kaprizov, which is basically zero. And again, if somebody called you about Kirill and you could deal them and they offered you some stupid deal, but you're you're not going to get that deal. So no,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. I saw it. I didn't see any credible names. I didn't see our guy Michael Russo, or I didn't see Elliot Friedman, Darren Drager. These are all huge names up north. If you're a hockey fan, you know who these guys are. They're awesome. But yeah, I don't see it. All right. Final thought. The Wild now has a 3-game trip, and I think we're both not saying anything is turned. Okay. So nobody's like excited. 3-game trip, Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina, all playoff teams, Eastern Conference this week. Your thoughts?
Give me those teams one more time here.
Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Which is a fringe playoff type team right now.
Mm-hmm.
Florida and Carolina. Carolina had a real shaky, hanky start, and has come on. And Rod Brind'Amour is an all-world coach.
Yeah,
they did lose. They did get waxed today by a Kings team that was playing terrible, but I guess got back on track.
I think the difference there is that the Kings, I think they just have the pieces to be a solid team. Like the hype preseason was there. They stumbled out of the gate, and now I think they're going to turn it around. But I think it's going to be a long week. That sounds like a very rough couple of days for this Wild club. So like you said, Thursday you go down to Tampa. I think Tampa is like, we know they're not the Tampa they used to be, winning back-to-back cups, but they still have, Steven Stamkos is still a player for them. And it's
like good here.
Yeah, he's good here. They just have so many good guys that, frankly, for this team with the form that they've been in, other than tonight, they're going to eat them alive. Florida might be the better Florida team now. The Panthers, with Barkov, that guy is an animal. I think that's another loss in my opinion. And then Carolina is an interesting one because they've dipped a little bit recently, but if there's like a get right game, have you heard the term like doctor, like, they're going to visit the doctor? Yep. Dr. Minnesota is coming to town. Dr. Wild is coming to town for.
They'll beat Carolina?
I think Carolina is going to beat them. That'll be
you think, okay.
They're going to get cured. I think that'll be the Hurricanes getting back to the right way. That's their medicine, so to speak, is a game against the Wild. Let's see, out of 6 possible points, 1 or 2, like they might go to overtime in one of these games, or they're going to steal one in regulation against, maybe they'll ride high off this win into Thursday and try to take one against the Lightning, but I don't see more than 2 points out of these next 3.
So even with the win tonight, the Wild is only ahead of in the entire league. In the Eastern Conference, they have more points than the Blue Jackets, who have 37 points. The Senators, who are the worst team in the Eastern Conference, with 30 points, which is another story because they're a huge disappointment. The Ducks have 31 points. Chicago has 26. San Jose has 23. And the Wild has 41, which puts them 3 behind Arizona and St. Louis. They are also 6 points behind a wild card spot. So that's where things stand, which means, we should probably go through that no trade list and see that if we can find guys to move as the deadline approaches. We should also do some tankathon mock drafting, because I know that you're a big mock draft guy. Yes. And wouldn't it be, and odds are very small, but if it could be Celebrini time in Minnesota, I think we'd all appreciate that. That's probably not going to happen. I'm guessing he ends up on the Sharks. The Sharks are an absolute waste of a season, but they're very smart because they're going to be bad enough to be good.
Yeah, and even just for the sake of it, let's run through it here really quick one time.
Oh, look at that! Yeah, you go. Love to see Tankathon. I want a mock.
We'll have to get a wild version of that. No movement there. But the good news is, despite them trailing in all those standings, they sit right now in the 6th best opportunity. That gives them a 7.5% chance of getting that top overall spot. In the quick run through, they sat at 6. But the thing is, and I want to say it was MN Hockey Fan who was in our chat earlier. I haven't seen him chat in a little bit here. This is a draft that touts deep on left-handed puck-moving defensemen, which if you're drafting around 6, unless there's a few surprises, like if we saw the Ducks do it last year going Leo Carlson, who has really looked good. So I think that pick has kind of panned out, but at the spot, it was like whoa, what are they doing? Unless some people fall in those first few picks, they're going to get set up nicely for one of the premier left-handed defensemen in the draft.
Ooh, that's intriguing. I like that.
So
I like that, or center. Both of those
yes.
positions to me are absolutely imperative. All right, sir. Great stuff. Thanks again for carving out some time, as well, because I know you were out celebrating your dad's birthday and your uncle's. Is that right?
My dad and my cousin both
okay.
share the same birthday, so we decided to pack up the family caravan and take a trip on down to the X. So it was a fun time. Good time seeing everybody.
That's great. Names. What are their names? Give them a shout out. Give them an official shout out.
Hey, Joe, my dad. Appreciate you. He's actually just in the living room here down the hall, and I'm sure he's watching. And Mike, happy birthday to both of you. Great to see you. Great to spend that time together, and glad more so that we could share the moment of watching win number 552 for MAF.
Absolutely. Okay. And as always, subscribe to all of the Score North content: Purple Daily, Judd's Hockey Show, Flagrant Howls, the Score North Twin Show. All of that available for you to subscribe to. And as always, we appreciate all of you who consume our multitude of sports offerings. Have a great one.